Many people I know in the world, they only talk. They don't work. They don't believe in work. They just want to talk, talk and talk. And they are depending on other people's works. And they are not doing anything. The best way to change the society is to work and to do it by yourself. And everybody should be part of it. Everybody should be part of it. Otherwise, you will not be able to change it.
Thanks for joining us for Building Pakistan, a conversation with Pakistan's beloved institution builders to explore how they've built and really continue to build this young country. I'm Benji Williams from Amal Academy, and for our final episode of the season, we have an extremely special interview with Mr. Faisal Edhi and Mrs. Bllquis Edhi of the Edhi Foundation. Of course, this is one organization that needs no introduction, founded by Pakistan's most beloved humanitarianist, social entrepreneur, and all-around role model, Mr. Abdul Sattar Edhi, who dedicated his entire 88-year life towards the development of this country. He started with just 2 paisas that his mother would give him each day, and from this small beginning, eventually opened a 24-hour dispensary in Mithadar, Karachi, where he would literally sleep on the bench just to serve patients. Eventually, he saved enough to purchase an ambulance, one of only 2 or 3 in the entire province, and drove throughout all of Sindh responding to emergency calls at any hour of the day. From there, he kept on working and over 60 years developed the largest NGO in Pakistan with nearly 2,000 ambulances, 350 fully serviced healthcare centers, over 3,000 employees, nearly 50,000 midwives or nurses trained, and essentially becoming a compass to hundreds of millions just through the way he lived his life. And although he passed away in the holy month of Ramadan in 2016, his vision and work very much lives on, specifically through the leadership of his son, Mr. Faisal Edhi, and his wife and partner, Mrs. Bllquis Edhi. Mrs. Bllquis, of course, has been supporting him since the very early days, not only working alongside of him day in and day out, but also bringing in a light in a world that Edhi Saab said was often full of darkness. And together, they raised their family, including Mr. Faisal Edhi, who learned alongside Edhi Saab as a child, then worked alongside of him after finishing his higher studies, and eventually with Mrs. Bllquis has helped succeed the foundation after Edhi Saab's passing. Although this is a bit longer conversation than usual, we wanted to share as much richness from it as possible. Together, Mrs. Bllquis and Mr. Faisal Edhi share Edhi Saab's belief that the only way to change society is through our work. They share his hope that bad things happen quickly but eventually fade away, while change comes slowly but lasts for a long time. And they share his conviction that we each have a role and responsibility to play in bringing about that long-lasting change that the world so desperately needs. Is it okay?
Yeah, it's fine. It will be like a conversation. Benjamin, some things, Edhi's philosophy was very deep and very wide. He had a very thorough study of society, and he believed the main belief of him, one of the main belief of his was to narrow the distance of rich and poor. I believe that according to his philosophy, he was very much inspired by Sufi way of working. He was, you have to excuse my English, right? So I don't have a very big vocabulary.
It's perfect.
I don't have a very good and big vocabulary, so I have very limited words to explain things. He always wanted himself to stay within the common people, within the lower classes, working classes, and
can I ask how that influenced your childhood growing up? I mean, I kind of wanted to go back, since we have the opportunity, to what it was like as a child of Edhi Saab's, And he's written in his book, which I brought, about some of his philosophy and the implication on the family. At one point, I think your brother Kutab asked for a bicycle, and there's this great, or was it you? Maybe both of you. Mm-hmm. And there's this great line where he says, "If we cannot buy a bicycle for everyone in the world, we will not buy it for our son." And so I was wondering, is this a fair window into how Edhi Saab was as a father?
It's true. He didn't bought us the bike. It was a cycle. Bicycle. And in Pakistan, bike, the common word for the bike is motorbike. So people get confused. It's a bicycle. I and my brother demanded from my father. So he refused. And for a long time he keep refusing that until we will not buy the bike for the whole neighborhood, we should not buy the bicycle. So that was his answer to our demand. And our childhood was not as normal as other people's childhood. He was fully dedicated to his work. He used to work in his office, sleep in his office. He used to live here. He didn't have a home. We were being grown up in our grandmother's home, my mother's mother home.
Rabia Ma.
Yeah. My mother's home. And my mother was not also with us there. So I was the youngest child in all of them. And I was very sensitive about the family matters, but I didn't have any complaints to my father. Sometimes I used to complain my mother. The reason I think I used to complain my mother was she was very harsh to me. Not only to me, to all the children, because she wanted all of our children, all of our brothers and sisters to go to school and educate properly, so we can compete in the life and get this good position among the good citizens. So we were not good. All of the children were not good in education because our background was not educational. My father was not educated. My mother was only, I think, she was matriculate, secondary school graduate. So and they both were not giving us times. They both were engaged in the social work full time. And many times Mr. Edhi used to say that my age is double than what age is in the reality, because I work double shifts. I work in nights and in days. And he used to work in nights. At 3 o'clock you call him at the office number, he would answer at 3 o'clock. No matter, until he became very sick, he stopped operating the telephone. Otherwise he was operating the telephone by himself. And he used to answer, and he used to not only answer, he used to serve the people they were asking for, the people who called for whatever cause. He used to serve that cause. And another thing, I was very sensitive about the family, and but I never complained to my father, as I told you. And because the reason I knew, and all of us knew, that the reason he is working for the cause of humanity, and that's the greatest cause in the world. So we had never complained it, and we managed it by ourselves. And my grandmother was also a working lady. She used to work in a labor room. Earlier she was a teacher, and when I was growing up, she was working in a labor room.
With Edhi Saab.
Yeah. In the morning shifts. She used to wake up early in the morning, like 5 o'clock, and she used to read Quran. And she used to read Quran early in the morning, and she used to fast like 3 to 4 months in a year, in a whole year.
Wow.
So she was very religious lady, and I had very bad relation with her. I used to tease her. I used to tease her a lot. I used to give her a lot. I used to give her a hard time, very much. And I remember growing up with her, and she used to give me 5 rupees every day to spend at that time. And she was a working lady, and she had very little money. So 5 rupees per day at that time was not much money. But I didn't say, and I remember I used to ask for more money, and she said, I'm a poor lady, go ask your father for the money. And
I love this part in the book where it talks about your crash course in development. I mean, you mentioned that maybe you weren't that great in school and your siblings weren't, but Edhi Saab said that your circumstances were a crash course in your development. Walking to school, traveling by bus or on Tonga, filling water from communal taps, being surrounded by corpses, and watching parents who worked all the time would form your character, or would form their character, your siblings and you. And he also talks about you having to choose for yourself if you wanted to adopt his mission or his work. He says, they cannot become shareholders in my labor. This is a profession of the heart. Those of them who wish to inherit my mission will have to follow it as a way of life. It's not a kingdom, it's a mission. And so I guess my question is, when did you decide to follow Edhi Saab's way of life? And was there a moment that kind of sticks out in your memory of when you might look back and think, okay, this is the moment where I realized the work that my father was doing and that I wanted to pursue something similar to that?
I was very much attached to my father since my childhood. And whenever he used to come once a week at our home for the lunch, and that was Friday. Our prayer, it's Friday used to be our holiday, like Sunday in Western countries. So at that time,
after Jummah prayer, he would come for lunch.
Yeah, after Jummah prayer, he would to come for lunch, and I used to wait for him outside my house, our building, outside our building. I used to sit on the footpath, wait for him. So he used to come in his ambulance, and a whole family used to have lunch all together. We used on Friday, my father's favorite food, my father's favorite dish was akni. Akni is in Memni or Gujarati culture. It's a rice and meat cooked together, and with the red chilies. So it's red. It's like a biryani, red biryani. And we used to have lunch together. And when my father used to leave, sometime he used to come through ambulance, and sometime he used to walk and then go by walking. So whenever he used to come by walk, he used to be alone, and we were always be afraid that something might happen to him if he's by himself. Somebody might attack him or something will happen. So I used to go with him after we. It was my feeling that I should not leave him alone. So I used to go with him to his office, which is about 7-8 minutes walk from the office, from our house to office. Maximum 10 minutes walk. Sometimes on Fridays, some shops would open because of the seasons, like Ramzan seasons or the greeting seasons or Eid seasons. They open the shops because they are busy, because it's all cloth market and everything. They are working in clothes. So people used to stop and talk to him. We used to have a chat with him, and I used to listen to him when he was having chat with the common people and his friends on the way to his office or to his home. We used to have dialogues with the people. And once I leave him, then I usually come to those people who had a chat with him, and sometimes those people were against his ideologies. His ideologies were little left oriented, and many people in our community are rightist mindset, with the rightist mindset. So they used to come. I was young at that time, like 10 years old, 9 years old. And they used to call me. I used to go to them. And they used to say that your father is a non-believer. He's an atheist. In Urdu, they used to say mulhid, kafir, mulhid and murtid. No, mulhid. Mulhid was the word they used to say. Mulhid was the word that they used to say, and they say he's Nastik and Mulhid. Nastik and Mulhid are two words used in English in Urdu for people who are non-religious. So they used to call him, and I didn't know about these words. So I used to go to my father, that particular man met me the other day. You were talking to him. He said your father is Nastik and Mulhid. So he used to laugh at this place or in his room. He used to laugh and he used to say, let them say whatever they say. But I believe in what I believe in. I will not change myself because of these people. They don't have any ideologies. They don't have any goals. They are working for money. That's what his words were. And those things affected me. These things and these answers developed me with my thoughts. And whatever I am is because of those thoughts of my father used to give it to me. And I used to come and ask why they call you Nastik. I see you praying. I see you offering namaz, and most of the time I see you listening to Quran. So why they call you Nastik? So they said it doesn't matter. They don't have anything else to say. That's why they say these words to demise me, to degrade me.
And there's this great picture in the book of you and Edhi Saab. You look maybe like 17 years old.
With the jacket?
Yeah.
That's Tokyo.
Oh.
I was in Tokyo. I remember it was in a community gathering with Mr. Edhi, and he had people gathered to meet him. So it was a event. It was an event to see Mr. Edhi and to listen to him, and it was a drive to collect donation around the world. So we went from Karachi to I remember Sydney. From Sydney to Tokyo, from Tokyo to, then we went to America, New York.
Okay.
From Tokyo to America. And it's about, in 92, it's almost 27, 28 years old. Picture.
It's a nice picture. I was wondering what this story was. I was also wondering, Edhi Saab talks about his brother Aziz and how at a young age, Aziz couldn't understand why Edhi Saab was so concerned about this social work. And I was just wondering if any of your siblings were also not at all concerned about the social work and wondering about you, like why you're interested in these things? Or was it that all of your siblings were joining your father on these trips and getting involved in this
all of my children are interested in Mr. Edhi's work. They are greatly involved in Mr. Edhi's philosophy and
all
work.
your brothers and sisters?
My brothers and sisters, and even my own children.
Your own kids,
my own children.
Okay.
And Qutb is little away from it. My father used to drag him to this work, but he was not much interested.
He's the oldest.
He's the oldest son.
Yeah.
He's the oldest son, but the oldest children among us is Kubra.
Okay.
Is Kubra.
So they were all interested in the work of your father.
But Kubra is full-time working with the Edhi Foundation.
Okay.
She's living in one of the Edhi home, and she's full-time working in Edhi Foundation.
And of course, Edhi Saab's example of simplicity, which you sort of referred to with the bicycle example. And I'm just wondering how else this might have manifested itself, or how it might have shown up as you were growing up. I mean, Edhi Saab says simplicity is the only beneficial way of life. And he talks about begging on the road in order to create the humility in himself.
He wanted to stay with the common people. That's why he used to adopted the simple way of life. And
He also talks even about his own childhood. He says, although we were not poor, people thought we were poor. When he was, I think, 7, 8 years old in India,
Batwa.
And so I'm wondering, was that similar to your upbringing in that you were not poor,
I was living in a neighborhood. We could have lived in a very good neighborhood, but Mr. Edhi had no home. He never constructed his home, or he never bought his home. We were living in my grandmother's home, as I told you, and that was located in a very, I would say, a working class neighborhood. And it was only one room house, and in that room there was a kitchen and a bathroom. And there are a lot of shortages. Electricity was short, water was short. But water is a need. Electricity is a need in these days. And how the people get was when they had to do extra effort for that. They had to expend extra money for that. Government was not giving anything. So we were living in a neighborhood where these problems were existing. And people had to do extra efforts to get their needs.
It's like Edhi Saab said, that your circumstances were a crash course in your development. In essence, essentially your life was your education in a way. And it's hard to package Edhi Saab's vision in one or two statements, but I'll give it a go, which is, in the book he talks about changing the system, and he talks about going to Hajj, and his prayer at Hajj was that God would allow him to do big work. He says, "Make me do big work for you, such big work that will change the direction of the world. I want nothing more. I do not forget that I am a tool, for my work is beyond my own capability. Use me to the fullest degree and to the end of my life in rendering great work for his people across the world." And I guess I wonder, what gave Edhi Saab such a huge vision? I mean, what made him believe these things were possible, that he could change the world? At one point he says, "The race has begun. I'm on the starting line, and something tells me I could win." What inspired him to believe?
He wanted. Whenever he used to talk, he would not talk only about Pakistan. He would talk about all of the third world countries. He would say that the only way to go or change the third world country to a welfare state. He was a strongly supporter of these third world countries should become the welfare state and should serve the common people of their own, a majority of their own people, and which these countries are not doing, and his thoughts were, without becoming a welfare state, you will not be able to solve the problems of the common people. So most of the time he used to talk about the welfare states, and he used to give examples of the European countries and their health system and education system to the common people of their countries.
And I wanted to ask about Edhi's principles. I've tried to identify a few of them.
There were 4 were common: simplicity, truth, punctuality, and 4th was hardworking. These were the common he used to always talk.
Yeah, so we talked about simplicity, and I guess even beyond those 4 principles, there's this broader vision of humanity as religion. And I just wanted to understand a little bit more. He says, no religion declares humanitarianism as an obligation, yet all stress upon it as the only acceptable way of life. And this idea of like all of the religions working towards action and towards the emphasis on the human being. And I was just wondering how this might have manifested or how it showed up on a daily basis. If there were any examples of what this meant to Edhi Saab.
Edhi Saab used to say that there are big 5 religions: Islam, Christianity. Christianity is the biggest, Islam, Hinduism, Judaism, and Buddhism. And there are many others. But these are 5 big religions. He used to quote these 5 religions and said all religions were being, they came to the world, or they came to the world for the betterment of their followers or the common people. But afterwards, they were hijacked by the shopkeepers. And he used to call these 5 big shops. And he used to say that they are being used for making money. They are not used for the original cause they were created for. And the main cause of there is to make money and serve the elite class and the rich classes.
And he says, Islam without practice is a negation of God. The holy book is truly valued only when its prescription is followed.
It's true. The common people in Pakistan, they read Quran in Arabic, they don't understand. They have read Quran dozens of times, but they don't understand what it has written. So whatever the Jahil Maulvis, the illiterate Maulvis say to them, they believe it. Even though everything is written in Quran, the common things which they are confused and they cannot find the way out, it's written in Quran. But because they read in Arabic and they are taught to read in Arabic, so they should read in their local languages so they could understand what Quran says. Quran says different and Maulvi says different things. So as knowledge is a key to change. So Muslims should learn Quran in their own languages so they can understand what is written, so they cannot be misled, they cannot be misguided, and they can live better lives than they are doing today.
And transitioning into this idea of action, which is very much related to religion and humanitarianism. He said public service was the only meaningful way to pray and the most perfect interpretation of the Quran. Religion declares the lowest form of labor as the highest dignity by pure intention, action as opposed to ritual and as opposed to theory. And I love this emphasis on action. And I think that's one of the core principles of Edhi Saab is action and hard work. And that we need to actually do something. Yes, you need to understand the Quran or whatever holy book you might
believe in
or believe in.
You believe in.
But then understanding is only the first part, and action is more important. And so I just wonder, Edhi Saab set such a strong example. He would talk about driving endlessly behind the ambulance to the point his head was spinning, or sleeping on the bench, or working 24 hours. I mean, is this something that we can all try to be like, or is it very hard to live a life of action?
This is the only way to change. This is the only way to change. Many people I know in the world, they only talk. They don't work. They don't believe in work. They just want to talk and talk. And they are depending on other people's work. They get money from, I would say, from others people's efforts. And they are not doing anything. The best way to change the society is to work and to do it by yourself. and everybody should be part of it. Everybody should be part of it. Otherwise, you will not be able to change it.
And Edhi Saab gave his own personal example. He said, the only responsibility you can take is your own. Fight back with your own example, fight back with Edhi. And he also said, I was setting a personal example, proving the capacity of one man's hard work is sufficient. Help is a handicap, an excuse for the lazy, a crutch for the crippled. And my question is, how is one man's work enough? Can our example be enough? Can Edhi Saab's example be enough? I mean, the problem seems so complicated and so big that
No, problems is not complicated. It is it is explained it like this. It's very simple. Managing a kitchen is more complicated than managing the systems of the society. And all women working in kitchens are better managers than our politicians and the social workers.
So what is necessary to improve those systems?
Cleaning, cooking, and serving. It's just like serving the society. Sanitation is needed in the society for cleaning. Serving food is needed in the society to keep the society running. And health is very important for the common people. In those neighborhoods which are not clean, you would find diseases spreading from there and many other problems which they have to face. So I would believe that the women in our house are better than the men who are managing the societies.
And this idea of mind shift, changing mindsets. This is another one of Edhi Saab's principles, this idea of self-actualization or self-learning. He calls it self-help in the book, but I think people have a different idea today of exactly what self-help means, but his explanation is awakening the people, shaking them from their stupor, directing their attention towards personal ability, reviving their dignity with the concept of self-help and self-learning. This was the issue. Islam demanded self-sufficiency as a way of life in which there is no humiliation in any form of labor. And I just wonder how to promote that kind of culture, or even the habit of depending on yourself and not someone else to help you, or not a handout or safarish or a reference or something.
He wanted to say that on the micro level, we have to work hard for the better environment to live in. Everybody have to work. Everybody have to work. Change is in the struggle. If there is no struggle, there will be no change. They should work hard to change the society. They should depend on their own people's efforts and struggle to change the society and to develop the resources to change within the society.
Because how do we do that? Or how did Edhi Saab try to do that?
Edhi Saab did it by the hard work. He used to work all the time. He did not depend on the donor agencies to help him. And he never went to a rich people to support him. He never went to any rich people to support him. No. He always went to the common people, and people used to come to him to help him. And whenever there was a shortage of funds, he used to go stand on the street to aware the people to do something for the society, to do something instead of individualism. for the collective cause. I had a very, sometimes we had a chat about the begging of Mr. Edhi. So he said, I don't want this society, I'm not promoting begging. He used to say that I'm not promoting begging, I am promoting the collectivism. I am teaching them to do the charity. It's not by the mean of money. They can do by themselves. They can go to serve people in their neighborhood, in their society, in their neighborhood, in their buildings, in their, whenever they see anything, something bad is happening, they can go and work in it to do it better. Volunteerism he wanted to promote.
And how do we get people to reflect more, self-reflect? Edhi Saab said that no ilm, no knowledge is more significant than the study of life itself. And this can be acquired by the simple method of sensitivity towards your surroundings. Education can be extracted from all things. But I think that requires a certain level of reflection or sensitivity that is not that common in society or in mankind in general. And I feel if we could advance ourselves in this reflection.
He was not against education. He was against the individualism. But educated people in these third world countries and the common, it's very common that they only serve the multinational companies. They serve the rich people. They serve the rich classes, and the working class and the poor classes are left without any facilities, without any services. So that's why he was much, he used to say people have become educated but not become a human. They have not become a human. That was his reason, that they have forgotten the humanity. They have forgotten that they have to work for the cause of common people, for the all people, not to serve the rich people.
Is there a way that Edhi Saab would encourage people to reflect and to think about how they could learn from life around them? And this idea that you can acquire simple methods of sensitivity towards your surroundings, that you could learn from your different circumstances.
From your surroundings.
Yeah. Yeah, how did he do that? I mean, it seems he did that with you and your siblings.
He used to work, this foundation only had one ambulance for nearly 25 years from in the beginning. In that period, he used to drive that ambulance by himself because he had little money to hire someone. Plus 24 hours he used to work by himself. So that concept became from that beginning. And he used to sleep next to the telephone. Somebody at 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock used to call in the morning that my mother is sick, I want to take her to the hospital. He used to go by himself. He used to go by himself, and after giving that ambulance service to that patient, people used to give him money. He said, no, I don't want money, you can come and put it into the donation box. So he wanted them to create a habit of giving donations. And he created it. Hundreds and hundreds of people who give donation to this foundation are those people Mr. Edhi have served them, and they are still giving it to him since last 30 years, 40, 50 years. And they are telling their children to give donation to the Edhi Foundation because they are working for the cause, and they have served your mother or your grandmother by himself. He used to they're telling these their children that serving, this is called serving.
What I love about that is it sort of teaches us that maybe action comes before knowledge, that you do something.
Action speaks.
Yeah, you do something and then you start to reflect on why you did that or what it taught you. A lot of times you think that you have to know how to do something before you can do it. But perhaps you can just start doing something, giving a donation or going and having some service, giving some service. And then later you might reflect on, okay, why did I do that? And why did I feel good when I did that? And how can I continue?
And this is his saying, this is his statement, newspaper statement in 1991. It says, मैं सवाब या जन्नत की लालच में, I don't work for the, मैं सवाब या जन्नत, I don't work for the blessing of God or for the greed of heaven. I don't work for that. I work for the humanity. It's 1991. It's a newspaper. I found it from the from old files. So I copied it and pasted it, so I can read and understand the philosophy of Mr. Edhi.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And people who are working in this organization can understand.
And I wanted to ask him a few questions about the strategy behind Edhi Foundation as an organization, because you were mentioning how people would give donations for the ambulance rides in the initial days. And Edhi Saab had written that, you pay what you can. Don't, if you cannot pay, and he would never refuse anyone for the ambulances. And so I'm wondering, like, today, how has that evolved to where Edhi Foundation is? In other words, like, for the ambulances particularly, what is the pricing scheme or program, and how has Edhi Foundation been able to be sustainable?
Majority of our work is on the donations. In many of our services is free. We don't ask if somebody comes here for the shelter, we don't ask them for the money or nothing.
So that's for the center. And I guess my question is around other entrepreneurs who are trying to grow organizations like myself with Amal Academy, or other social entrepreneurs who are trying to get some revenue income so that their organization doesn't have to depend on, donor organizations from outside, for example. So I'm just curious about your strategy around ambulances, especially because I know this could be something that people are willing to pay for. What's your strategy behind?
Ambulance, we have grown very widely in Pakistan. And ambulance is the biggest head of expense for this organization. And it's a backbone of this organization also. Without ambulances, our structure will fail. And mobility is very important for organizations to work like this organization. Mr. Edhi used to call this head of expense a white elephant. The expense of Edhi ambulance in Pakistan, in Edhi Foundation. We have to manage it, and because of its biggest expense, the biggest resources are spent on it.
And in terms of
revenue, in terms of revenue, most of the money is from the donation, and very minimum charges are done for those people who are a user of common people who use them every day or sometimes, and sometimes, like in disasters, in accidents, in transporting any unknown person, it's free.
And I'm really curious about government collaboration, because many entrepreneurs might think that they have to collaborate with the government in order to reach the masses, because it's such a huge country. And yet Edhi Saab, at different points in his career, he said at one point, this was not the way for me to collaborate with the government, nor was this the time. I would have to work despite the government, ignore it, but work alongside it, not become part of it, nor oppose it. And so I'm just wondering how his perspective changed over time. How did he envision achieving such an ambitious goal as a welfare state without partnering with the government?
He was telling that our organization, in his views, and which I had a little bit of opposing it, he used to say this organization by itself will become government one day. And this organization will change not only Pakistan, but it will become the idea to change the world. Change the world of third world countries, especially he used to talk about. And these third world countries will follow the example of Edhi Foundation. And social work will be the key to change the third world to a welfare state. By the force, we will not be able to change it. We will not be able to use the violence against the government authorities. And he said, it will change. It will change. And I don't know how, but he used to say it will change. Just keep doing the work.
And you had
even it is out of my capacity to think, but he used to say.
And
we are working as a parallel government in Pakistan. If you think.
And so you opposed it at some point. Now, do you believe that it will change, or are you still not sure?
By the passage of time, it will change a little. States are the creation of civilizations. When there were no civilizations, people were living in jungles and in tribes, and they used to serve the common people very with very importance. There was no hunger, there was no exploitation of classes. Everything was owned by the tribes. The jungle is owned by the tribe, is not owned by the individuals. State is a product of civilization, where individualism is protected by the state. But the wealthy classes are supported and protected by the state. And commoners are exploited by those wealthy classes. Not by the state, but by the rich classes. So one day, this social work and the mentality of the people will change the whole world.
What's interesting to me is that Edhi Saab stayed focused on Karachi for about 20 years.
More than that.
Maybe more than that. And finally, after 20 plus years, he said...
In 80s, he started working in 51. Nearly 30 years 30. He worked for the Karachi. And then in early 80s, he established one of his first center was Thatta, which is about 100 kilometers from Karachi, and the second center was Peshawar, I would believe, or first was Peshawar and the second was Thatta, something like that.
And I'm just surprised that with such a massive vision that it was focused on Karachi for so long, and I wonder what the lesson for others
he had
might
limited
be.
Resources. He had limited resources. He was building his image, his goodwill. In that 25-30 years struggle. After that image was built, people started trusting him, and he started expanding. So initial effort of one whole generation, more than 20 years is needed to establish the goodwill and the image among the people.
Yeah. And then the growth was pretty
fast,
massive and fast.
very fast.
I just have like two last questions. One is a kind of a set of questions around Edhi Saab's management style, and then about, of course, his marriage with Bllquis Edhi. On the management style, Edhi Saab admits or shares in his book that he was at some point he even used the word dictator, that he hired and fired. People were oftentimes afraid of him. That he essentially expected perfection and was really, displeased or upset when people disappointed. And I'm just wondering, your thoughts on what were the pros and cons of this management style? I mean, everyone has their own thoughts on what's a good leader and what's not.
There were many
leader.
good things about that way of management, and there were some bad things about that way of management. But Mr. Edhi evolved. He was not trained. He evolved. And he was learning everything by himself, by the lessons he was being taught by his surroundings and the people they used to betray him. Simplicity was the biggest way of managing this organization. One of the simplicity, punctuality, hardworking. These four principles were very common features of his management, and hardworking and truth. There are many common things he used to say, but on public it's not good to say it. He has evolved himself, and I would not say anything against it, because he was a natural man. That's what I say.
And what do you think some of the benefits were of having such a strict management style?
Now we don't have. Edhi Saab he was not too much literate. His organization was working on very good grounds. All the techniques were followed, copied, and implemented in this organization. But by himself, he was not much literate. The language he used to write was different than the language his worker used to write. The language he used to write was Indian language, Gujarati language. And he used to read. In Karachi, there are a couple of Gujarati newspapers, still 2 Gujarati newspapers being published, but they are under crisis because many people the new generation don't speak and write that language. So he used to write that language. It's a language barrier. The documents, the audits, and everything was in local language, in Pakistani language, Urdu. And he used to read and write the Gujarati language. That was one more barrier in this system he used to face. And many people he trusted, they betrayed him. So he was not trusting anybody.
Last time when you and I met, we were talking a little bit about the systems that were being built.
One more feature that was very prominent in his management style was blind faith. Blind faith in his management style was very common, which I challenged. When I came to this organization, I changed that feature. The blind faith system was challenged by the documents which I implemented. And this organization was benefited, and Mr. Edhi was very happy of my entrance and coming into this organization, and he allowed me to do anything. So I implemented many documents which were auditable, and the performance of our resources became very good. They doubled since last 25 years. The hire and fire the concept of Mr. Bllquis Edhi, the explanation of Mr. Bllquis Edhi changed a little, because everything was being documented then. I implemented the logbooks for the ambulances. I created the Department of Human Resource, in which every complaints and all the data of the workers were being kept. That brought many changes to this organization, and hire and fire ratio became also very little. The turnover of the organization was about, at that time, 50% or more than 50%. Every 2 years, I would believe, 25%, 30%. It changed to 10% now.
Wow. About how many employees do you have now?
Currently, we have about 3,000 employees.
And at what point did you come into the organization and start introducing?
In 94.
Okay.
93, 94, in 92 I came, but I left, went back to Pakistan. I went out of Pakistan again because the education system was very hard for me to, I was not good at education. So becoming a matriculate in Pakistan was becoming very hard for me. It seems to be very burden, this educational system, metric system. So I decided to go to America, and do the graduation from there, but my mind was here with Mr. Edhi, and whenever I used to talk to Mr. Edhi over the telephone, he used to say, come back. So after 1 year I came back. I didn't graduate from there also. Then I started doing my education privately in Pakistan. I matriculated from here, Pakistan. Then I went to college for inter from Southern St. Patrick Government College, studied inter from there. And then I went to Karachi University. I did BA privately. And then for the masters, I went to Karachi University for 2 years.
And after that, you joined Mr. Edhi?
I was working with Mr. Edhi.
The whole time.
I was working with Mr. Edhi all the time.
But
since I came back from America.
Building those documentations.
I used to sell news. Where do you live? In New York?
My family is in California.
And?
Sacramento.
Never went to New York?
Yeah, I lived in New York for 2 years. In Harlem.
There was a newspaper, New York Newsday, in New York.
Yeah. You used to sell that?
I used to sell that on the street of Brooklyn.
Oh.
On the street of Brooklyn.
Huh. Which neighborhood in Brooklyn? Do you remember?
I used to live in Karachi, but I used to sell the newspaper about 2 to 3 kilometers away from that place. Because I had no job.
Yeah.
And I had to support myself. My father gave me money. He gave me money. He said I would be needing it to support my living there. But I didn't use that money for 1.5 years. When I came back to Pakistan, I returned that money to him and he said, I don't need it. It's yours. Then I said, I don't need it. It's yours. So what he did, he called my sister and gave that money to her and said, it's Faisal's money. Whenever he needs it, he will take it from you. Still that money is with that sister.
That's too good. And so at what point did you have the idea that maybe you would take over Edhi Foundation? And at what point did Edhi Sahab have this idea?
No, I had no idea. I just wanted to stay under Mr. Edhi. I never thought of taking this organization. I always wanted to stay under Mr. Edhi. And I wanted this organization to flourish.
But he never had the conversation with you like, Faisal, after I pass away, then I want you to take this role and do this with the organization.
In his mind, he used to say that you will be the person who will be running this organization with Bllquis Edhi. With Bllquis Edhi. So currently, all of the ladies section of this organization is run by Mrs. Bllquis Edhi, and my sister is assisting her. I am looking after the ambulance and the other parts of this organization.
At this point in the conversation, we had a chance to join Mrs. Bllquis Edhi upstairs in her office, and ask her questions about her marriage and her partnership with Edhi Saab, about the work she's done, and really the work she continues to do with Edhi Foundation. We've had to edit it down at points as she was speaking mostly in a mix of Urdu, Memoni, and English, and Mr. Faisal was helping to translate. But we've tried to include most of the original conversation and definitely not compromise any of the integrity or the meaning or the feeling and the emotions of the conversation. Should we start? Sure. So my questions are about marriage and your partnership with Edhi Saab. Edhi Saab said in the book that my wife is a rebel at heart, which is how he described.
Too long I will not be able to translate. आई जी शादी जे बारे में ने आई जी साथ ईदी साहब जी जो जिंदगी गुजारी है इनके बारे में ही सवालात करनो ईदी साहब चुनावा क्या आई दिल से बागी हो तो हकीकत है
किन्ने बागी हो
आई दिल से बागी हो
हाँ
A rebel at heart.
लड़ाई करनी भी
समाज में ईदी साहब से लड़ाई ना समाज में जो नाइंसाफी हुई इनके खिलाफ हुए
बराबर ओके
she's saying yeah I was rebel
okay
He said she was mischievous and didn't take work too seriously, and even Edhi Saab said she was happy to consider his life an ideal way to live, as in they were very different, but yet she was still happy to adopt his lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And my question is, how are they so different, but yet
एक चुनता कि आई मशकूक हुआ मतलब ईदी साहब से मुत्तफिक ना हुआ आई जो लाइफ स्टाइल अलग हो ने ईदी साहब जो लाइफ स्टाइल अलग हो लेकिन ईदी साहब चुनावा कि आई अडॉप्ट करेगी नहीं ईदी साहब जी लाइफ स्टाइल के
जी जी बिल्कुल
ईदी साहब जी लाइफ स्टाइल के अडॉप्ट करेगी नहीं ने ईदी साहब के साथ बच्चे जिंदगी गुजारिया
मुझे तरे भी लड़ाई करिया कर दी
yeah she says yeah I adopted his way of life but I still used to fight with him
हाँ लड़ाई तो करिया कर दी
she's talking in home language not Urdu she is talking in Memoni
मतलब है ना आ चोरी नहीं आगे शादी जो कर चुकी आया घरेलू लाइफ न था गुजारो तो પછી આસ્તે આસ્તે ખાવો રાખે ના વાના બોતરડી સુધી આવ લડાઈ કરા તો ખાવો રાખે પછી આવ છડી દીધું
she's saying that I used to say to him that if you are not living a common family life then why did you marry so we had a fight with it we had a fight about it with each other and then he stopped eating for a couple of days then for 2-3 days he didn't used to eat then I used to go and compromised and live together then I give up she used to give up
and I guess Bilquis Bibi used to say, why did you marry me if all you have in your heart is your love for work? And Edhi Saab would say, of course I would wish to spend more time with her and with the family, but time was short and I had to deprive us both of that joy.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल इनके जो कि ऐसा जो ना थियो असा इंजा थी भी
she's saying that he never became ours Mr. Edhi didn't become ours we became his
हम बदे ऐसा बदे इंजा थी भी
And one thing he writes in the book is how happy he felt or how many jokes and laughter that Bilquis Bibi gave and how he was always so serious but after the marriage then he was also lighter and felt happier and I just wondered how was she able to bring the laughter in such difficult work when Edhi Saab had such a difficult life.
She was what do you call it humor
ना इधर से छोकरी के ने समंदर
she used to spend a good time with her she used to joke and do humor with him and to release his tensions and he was always worried about the work and tensions about the work so she used to give a good company to him and around his surroundings and all the workers to this office she used to take them to the parks and see seaside for the enjoyment and for the entertainment. And she used to give, I mean, she was very energetic in changing the environment.
चुप्पी ने उन्ना भाई अच्छी नहीं चुई ना भाई साथ में
She's saying that we used to hide from him when we used to go out for the entertainment. When we come back, and then we tell him that we were out for the entertainment or for the enjoyment.
पहले उन्ना भाई चुना भाई कोई मैयत थी भी तो उन्नु थे मैयत में ना उन्ना है घूमने उन्ना
He's saying that he was very strict. He was not allowing anything to do in this office and his surrounding. So we used to tell him that somebody has died and we are going to visit his home or his place to pay the tribute to, and we used to go for the picnics.
छोकरो करो हर गाल में कंजूसी हर गाल में कंजूसी
He's saying that he was very कंजूसी means penny wise.
Yeah. Miser.
हाँ वो कंजूसी करना हुआ
He was very miser, that he was not spending anything on anything else than the social work. So we found the ways out of his social work to enjoy ourselves.
चौथा चुप्पी ने फिल्म डाल ले उन्ना भाई बेसा सोशल वर्क को
He's saying we used to hide from him and go to watch movie, and that was our social work.
वो बेसा
Watch movie in cinema.
इधर से बड़े छोकरे गिरी उल्ली
I love that.
That's her rebellion.
That's the rebel at heart. And what about the difficult times? Because Edhi Saab has written that there was some sadness sometimes in Bilquis's eyes, and he felt badly about that.
आपका ने उदास रह नहीं ना
She's saying that I was not upset. I was very energetic and I used to enjoy myself and enjoy the surroundings and life. लेकिन यदि सब चुनाव आए आँखें में उदासी आए आएंगे दुख हाँ
After a death or a burial or something. Burial, anyone. Some people going in the ambulance.
शुरू में
In the beginning. She says in the beginning I was very fearful. And I was
65 में लाश हुआ नहीं ना टुकड़ा
in 1965 war.
तो मुझे ना थरको लगनो पछे
In 1965 war we saw many dead bodies. Indian Pakistan war 1965. So this area was under attack, so a lot of dead body used to come here. A lot of dead body used to come here, and we used to see that dead bodies, and we had a fear in our mind. So that he used to talk, I think, he used to talk about. In the beginning when we used to see the dead bodies. And then afterwards it became common.
I want to ask about, Edhi Saab said marriage is either good or it's bad. If you find the right partner, then it's good.
जो शादी को समझौतो है शादी न सारी होती न खराब होती समझौतो हो तो जो है ना पाके करनू खपे तो ने औरत झुके थी मर्द नथो झुके.
She's saying that marriage is a compromise. It's not a bad or right. It's a compromise, and the women have to compromise. The most compromise is from the women's side.
औरत हमेशा झुके
to success the marriage. And the men doesn't compromise much. That's what she's saying.
Should compromise more, but is probably inflexible.
She's talking about the reality. What is going on.
इनके चुजे कि मेरी माँ बहुत सारी भी मेरा बच्चा संभालने भी मेरी सारी
She's saying that my mother was very good. She raised my children. Otherwise, I was not. My family was not successful family.
सारी सोच भी नहीं भी.
And she used to give a good thought to my children. That's why my family was successful. Otherwise, if my mother was not supporting, I would the life with Mr. Edhi would not be successful for me.
So, I wanted to ask about these 7 proposals that Edhi Saab had before Bilquis.
7 proposals?
He said he proposed 7 times in a period of 2 years and each refused. Because he was too poor or too strict or too religious or too much of a miser.
You're saying that 7 times Mr. Edhi told her to marry. That's what you're saying?
7 times proposed to 7 other women.
Yeah,
other
that's what
women.
she's saying.
Other
I was confused.
Yeah.
I was confused. She's saying that he has proposed. He has proposed 7 different ladies, but they all refused to different reasons.
For different reasons, exactly. And my question: what if Edhi Saab had married one of those other 7? They had said yes, and I just wonder how different his life would be. As in Edhi Foundation, I feel would not be where it is today.
अल्लाह के हाथ में है ये तो अल्लाह पाक के हाथ में है मेरे हाथ में तो नहीं है अगर वो लोग ना चाहवा ना वो अजमी के मिली ने रूंती जैसा ना को नहीं चाहवा.
She's saying that it's in the hand of God. The successful is in the hand of God. But those ladies who refused his proposal, they still are in touch with her, and they say that we did the biggest mistake in our life. We should have married to him.
बधे दुखी थी
They all are upset in their life.
ना मेके नारी मेके चूमन थी चून तू तेरी नसीब वाली है तो दुनिया दिसी आवे.
They tell her these girls, they give her and they greet her. They congratulate her that you are the lucky, that you have gone all over the world and you have spent a successful life, and we are all living a hard life.
लेकिन चूना कोई लड़जे ना जवाब ना दीजिए माफ कर दियो बस अल्लाह ताला पाके ना रहे.
She says she used to fight a lot, but Mr. Edhi used to tell her, don't fight, compromise,
compromise
and
करो
forgive, don't fight.
माफ कर दियो आकड़ी आदत बहुत पसंद हुई कि बस माफ कर दियो दरगुजर करो ना अल्लाह ते यकीन रखो आई कि अल्लाह ते यकीन नहीं ना मगे चुनो लड़े ले उनो तो ना.
So when she used to go fight with anybody, Mr. Edhi used to tell her, you don't believe in God, right? That's why you are fighting. Leave it on God.
बस अल्लाह ते छोड़ो.
Leave it on God. Don't fight.
जरे बेहोश थियो ना डॉक्टर चो ना कि की भी ना खरेगा तो उनके जलेबी.
There was a sweet dish called jalebi. He liked it. So before a couple of days of his death, he was semi-unconscious, and doctors were not giving him anything to eat. Told them not to give him anything to eat. So I took jalebi to him, and
पहले इन्हें सेलाम पछे आस्ते से कन्वर्ट होने निचू कि जलेबी खेनी है बनी अभी है.
he was sleeping, and before his death, couple of days. So she said, I asked him, I have brought jalebi, would you like to eat? I went close to his ears and I asked him, you want to eat jalebi? He said yes. And then I gave him a small bite of jalebi, and he ate it. And then he enjoyed that moment.
जो ऐसा मियाँ बीवी थोड़ा वैसा दोस्त हुआ है.
She's saying that we were not husband and wife, we were friends. We were not husband and wife, we were friends.
दोस्त हुआ है. एरे मारो साथ क्या रही सके तो जिंदगी क्या गुजारनो खुश मिजाज.
She's saying that spending a life with him is very hard. So we were just friends. We were not husband and wife. He was very dry in his habits.
लड़ाई भी आऊँ करा माफी भी आऊँ मांगा खाओ भी आऊँ करा.
She's saying that I used to fight. I start fighting, and I start apologize by myself to him, and I beg to apologize to him, and then I used to give him food. Then I was compromising on every level. He didn't. He was rigid.
अभी हाणे मुंहिंजी ज़िंदगी में की बि ख़ुशी नहीं इनसी फाइटिंग करनी हुई इनसी लड़ाई करनी हुई इनसी दोस्ती करनी हुई इनजे पसंद जी चीज़ूं खाराइणी हुई इनखे हाणे मुंहिंजी कोई बि हू नहीं
I don't have any happiness in my life now. Everything was with him of mine. My fighting, my happiness, my fears, everything was with him.
अजीब हुई कि केॾा केॾा से आवाज़ अचे थो बिल्किस नारा थी कोई नथो हुए
She's saying I still hear his voice calling, but I see he's not there.
जो अहिड़ो माण्हू कोई दुनिया में पैदा नहीं थी
Men like him will never be born again.
अहिड़ो माण्हू कोई पैदा नहीं थी
Does she see him in the work? I mean, in the efforts that she's giving to Edhi Foundation, like she's still continuing his vision and his dream.
मूंखे लॻे थो मूंखे पावर बिजली जो पावर हो तो ई मूंखे ॾिनी आहे
He's saying that he's supplying me the power. He's still supplying me power to do this work.
मूंखे न घणो की ॾिनी वियो आहे बोझ की
He has given me a lot of things. आगे नजर अचंता इन कम में. She sees him in this.
ख्वाब में भी अचनि था नज़र भी अचनि था आवाज़ अचे थो
In dreams, she sees him in dream. She sees him in work. She hear voices of him.
कॾहिं कॾहिं लॻे थो मरिया नी कॾहिं कॾहिं लॻे थो न हाणे नहीं अचनि
She's saying that sometimes it doesn't seems that he is dead, and sometimes it seems that he will never come.
एधी खे ॾिसणो हूंदो त इन बच्चे में ॾिसनीस
Whenever I want to see Mr. Edhi, I will see him in his children.
He has a lot of children, you and the rest, but all of Pakistan and the world.
इन्हें तो इतना बड़ा बच्चा ही नहीं जा.
माशाल्लाह
I also consider myself one of his children in some way.
तो आप पोते भी जो है ना ईदी साहब जो बच्चों समझाते पोते के.
माशाल्लाह वॾी वॾी ॻाल्हि
It's very.
आहे ऐं दिलि में यादि रखी आहियो छो वो वॾी ॻाल्हि आहे ऐं दिलि
You
में
have remembered him from the heart. It's very, very big thing.
वो वॾी ॻाल्हि आहे असां लाइ
Very big thing for us.
Thank you so much.
तो पहिरां चुनो पाकिस्तान में
He says Mr.
हमेशा
Edhi
चुनो।
used to say Pakistan will become the welfare state, and I used to say keep dreaming.
हाँ
Keep dreaming. It doesn't cost you anything.
वीजा भी नहीं लगन पैसा
You
भी
don't
नहीं
need
लगन
visa for dreaming. Do whatever, dream whatever you want to.
हाँ सॼो ॾींहुं कमनारिया करण
Welfare state.
हमेशा बधे जे वॾे माण्हू
He was saying that he was much against those rich people and powerful people. He was very much against them. But and he used to say that they will kill me. He always used to say that they will kill me. And he 25 years ago he went into the Edhi center and he dug his own grave. That whenever they kill me, put me in this grave.
हाँ रोज इंतजार करनो वो
He was waiting that somebody will kill him. And he said they didn't kill him because violent ना हुआ ना, violence ना.
लड़ाई जो ना लड़ाई ना करो बोलता था जो गोली पे मेरा नाम लिखा हुआ है ना और जो रात कब्र की है ना वो दुनिया की नहीं होगी.
He's saying that I didn't believe in violence, and on which bullet, if there on that bullet, if my name is written on it, I will have it, and that day will be my grave night. But he didn't die that way.
इन्हीं
That
के
natural way.
इन्हीं के नाम बड़की
The ruling
ऐं
class,
निकिरी वञे बल्कि
they didn't do anything like this.
मौत से ना थरकना हुआ कॾहिं बि न मगर इन अयूब खान
He
जो
was never
ज़मानो
afraid of death. Mr. Edhi was never afraid of death.
जॾहिं अयूब खान जो दौर हो ना
There was an election of General Ayub Khan. He was a dictator. His son came to Karachi and there was an election. There were some people supporting his opponent, Fatima Jinnah. Fatima Jinnah was the sister of Quaid-e-Azam. So she was opposing Ayub Khan. Mr. Edhi and her symbol of election was red rose.
गुलाब जो फूल हो
Red rose. So Mr. Edhi was supporting the red rose and he was contesting an election of BD member, basic democracy member, and he was supporting Fatima Jinnah. So Ayub Khan's son, Gohar Ayub, he is still in the assembly right now. He said to my father, he gave a message to my father through somebody that I will kill you if you support Fatima Jinnah.
तू हटी
Leave her, don't support her. He said, no, I sleep on the couch, on the bench outside my office. Whenever you want to kill me.
तेरे को जॾहिं दिल थी अचे
I will keep supporting Fatima. And in that day they offered him they offered him the money. At that time they offered him 4,000 rupees. At that time, we will give you 4,000 rupees if you vote the Ayub Khan's supporter. Said no. There were very few people who didn't
सदा हारी हुआ
who were not being bought. One of my father was.
Such bravery, courage, and hope. What about the incident when the center was robbed? Did he lose any hope or strength at that time?
She's saying that because of that
ये रोज
robbery,
रोना हुआ करबाट के नाम
he
ना
was saying that because of that robbery he died. He lost his
रोना चुना कबाट हटाई हुई दस बिल्किस में के सारो न तो लगे
says that he was very discouraged about this robbery. He was saying my place was the safest place in this city, and these robbers
वो आखिरी में भी इन्हें मरियो इल्ला जाए
saying that we kept this money. Yeah, we kept this money for the bad days. If something happens to us from the government, we will use that money to keep our work ongoing. And that money was robbed. That's why he became very disheartened. And then he deteriorated and died. And those old robbers are out right now. They are on the bail. He was very courageful. His willpower was very strong. And he said, if government sees everything from us, I will go on the street and you will come with me, we will beg and start again everything. If government sees this from us.
He wrote in the book that you have to take the pain and convert it into energy. You have to take the pain and move it into positive energy. How do you do that? I don't know how he would do that.
जो दर्द दिंदा सोसाइटी वारा समाज वारा तो उन दर्द के आए तवनाई बनायो न तरक्की की तरफ नहीं ताकत बनायो
बोले मैं बोली हमको ये लोग गालियां बकते बुरा बोलते ये बिल्किस अपोजिशन का होना जरूरी है.
She is saying that I used to say that when people say against they against us a lot. Some people say against us a lot. So she says it's good. Mullah, mostly the religious people. It's good to have an opposition. Let them say.
Opposition का होना जरूरी है वरना.
It's very important to have opposition, so we keep in right direction. तो सही सिमत में हलना रही हूँ.
ना हमारे में गुरूर आ जाएगा, हमारे में तकब्बर आ जाएगा.
We will become very proud then.
if we don't have a position.
बुरा लोग होना खपन.
He's saying
काम
that,
करने का मजा तब आता
saying
है.
bad people are needed in the society. In this way, you enjoy working.
हाँ, काम करने का मजा तब आता
You
है.
enjoy working then. You see, it seems that you are working in right direction.
मुझे कहते थे मेरा मुकाबला मेरे काम से नहीं करते हैं और मुझे बदनाम गालियाँ इल्जाम लगा के करते हैं.
Saying they are not competing me with my work. They are competing me by defaming me, by blaming me, by cursing me. That's not right direction. They should compete me through the work. Then I will tell what I am.
I think many social work is hard, as your mother said. It's very difficult. I wonder if Bllquis Bibi or Edhi Saab, around death so much through work.
Around death?
Yeah, around death.
Death and agony.
Yeah. What does it teach you about life? Being around death so much?
जिंदगी इन जो नाम है यानी खुशी जो नाम जिंदगी ने तकलीफ जो नाम जिंदगी है.
He's saying that this is the real name of life. Prosperity and happiness is not the real life. Real life is death, agony, क्या कहते हैं, दुख की कुछ होता है इंग्लिश में,
परेशानी. ये दुख है ना जिंदगी जा वो दुख है. अकड़ो खुशी अकड़ो गम जो गम है
sadness, agony, death. This is the reality of the life.
अगर खुशी के साथ गम नहीं ना तो जिंदगी में की मिले.
So she's saying both things are together, happiness and agony.
दुख सुख जिंदगी तो दुख जो नाम है ना.
At the same time.
Same time. They travel by parallel together.
Last question from my side is Edhi Saab prayed that he could change the world. Now, what's his prayer?
Who's her?
Edhi Saab's prayer for us.
After the death? Edhi Saab सच्ची जिंदगी दुआ करिया कि दुनिया में तब्दीली अचे.
हाँ हाँ
हाणे मरण जे बाद एडी साहब पूरो दुआ करना होना.
एक दुआ करना होना मुझे पाकिस्तान के आबाद रखी. मरण बेहोशी में भी चुना हुआ पाकिस्तान जिंदाबाद. अल्लाह माँ पाकिस्तान जिंदाबाद. बेहोशी में पाकिस्तान के लिए दुआ करते हैं. पाकिस्तान को आबाद रखना अल्लाह.
She's saying that he would be saying the same thing. When he was unconscious, he used to say Ma.
पहले अल्लाह.
Allah. He used to say Allah.
माँ पाकिस्तान.
And Pakistan.
जोर से चुना हुआ.
Long live Pakistan.
पाकिस्तान जिंदाबाद. इन चुना हुआ नींदर में बेहोशी में. अब पाकिस्तान को ख्वाब देखते थे बस. पाकिस्तान बचाएगा अल्लाह मियाँ. अल्लाह बचाएगा. डॉक्टर टेनांग नहीं उन्होंने के डॉक्टर मारी भी सुना.
He was saying, "Don't take me to the doctors.
डॉक्टर मेरे को मार डालेंगे. डॉक्टर पर नहीं.
They will kill me. Don't take me to the doctors.
They will kill me. मैं जिंदा रहूँगा."
He never trusted doctors. I never trusted doctors.
चुना हुआ डॉक्टर नींद कसाई इन.
It's to say that they are butchers, not doctors. They work for money. They work for multinational pharmaceutical companies.
बहुत नाराज हुआ है. एनएससी से बहुत नाराज हुआ.
Rich pharmaceutical companies. They work for rich pharmaceutical companies. They don't work for people.
वो जिंदा दिल मारो.
She's saying that his heart was very lively.
बहुत हिम्मत वाला. इतना हिम्मत वाला आदमी मैंने कभी नहीं देखा है.
Courageous.
I think a lot of that is because of Bilquis Bibi. Because work was very difficult, and he said after the marriage he felt joy and courage again.
हाँ अल्लाह जो शुक्र है कि बस जो मिशन अल्लाह में यहाँ पाके दिनी है हल लो. पर कोशिश करना है, हिम्मत करना है, हल लो।
See, this mission is God's mission, and it will keep running. God will help us.
बहुत शुक्रिया, मेहरबानी, थैंक यू।
बोला अल्लाह तेरे को खुश रखे, अल्लाह तुम्हारी मुरादें पूरी करे।